Hey everybody, welcome to episode 89 of the Big Man Seeks Adventure Show. And I'm going to tell you what, 2020 has sucked. So we decided to go back to the 80s today. Big collars, some big glasses, big hair, and got the Rolex on because, Dave, how are you living the 80s today?
I actually went retro with my Ronnie Lott jersey, of course, since this is episode 89. Tomorrow is the 90s, so literally, I gotta be representing.
This year has blown, man. It just keeps tumbling and tumbling. It's kind of like when you fall down a hill and you think, oh, I could stop, but you just keep going and keep going and keep going. It gets faster and faster, and you first it's a broken arm, then it's a broken leg, then your eye pops out of the socket.
It's a Monty Python skit, and you just keep going and going.
I know it's crazy. So we're doing the 80s. We're going back to the 80s, the decade of decadence, the decade of big hair, big music, big drinks, and lots of other stuff. We're going to talk about the films. We're going to talk about the music. We're going to talk about the business, and we're going to start off with Drink of the Day. What do you think? Drink of the Day.
I think you have to preface Drink of this Day a little bit with the story.
Well, tell me the story.
Your story.
Which one? You mean
the wall banging? We're all wall banging.
Okay, we're gonna give you a tease. This will come up in the next episode. But I had some wall banging going on, and our drink is the Harvey Wallbanger. So
today,
I'm gonna tell you that this drink does go along with not only the 80s, but my house got into an accident. That's right. My house got into a car accident. God, I told it not to drink and drive, but it did. Now, we'll tell you all about it on an upcoming episode, but you will not believe this story. Let's just suffice it to say I'm going to be getting some new walls, some new garage doors, all of my driveway power washed, and a bunch of new landscaping and lighting that I have to replace. So
I have to admit, Brad, I think you already got some landscaping, just not intentionally.
Yeah, not the kind I wanted or intended. But we'll tell you about it on the next episode, so be sure you tune in because we're going to have it. But for right now, we're going to tell you about a quintessential 1980s drink. And before I do, I want to remind everybody, do you know that you can watch these episodes on our Facebook page and soon to be uploaded to our YouTube page? So every episode that you're listening to on iTunes or on our website, you can see our ugly mugs. You can see that big collar, and you can see that jersey Dave is wearing, and you can see it all on either our Facebook page or our YouTube page. So make sure you go there. And you also want to go there because this week, I got back in the studio and I revived our Drink of the Day video. Dave, Harvey Wallbanger, were you a Harvey Wallbanger?
Brad, let me preface this with there's really not a lot of drinks that I didn't partake in. So yeah, I drank them, but it was always like that. I just wanted to say the name at a bar or something.
Slippery Nipple. In the 80s, if it didn't have some sexual innuendo, it usually was like sex on the beach, slippery nipple. We can keep going. There's tons of them. We'll bring them up through the show. Yeah. Let's do that. Every once in a while, when you think of one, just throw it out there. But drinks had lots of liqueurs. There was lots of layering, where it had to be, the bartenders hated them because it had to float this on this. There was a lot of milk products,
Well, especially as Corey says on Dollar Drink Night, because anything like at Black Angus, you can get any drink. So people come in, I want a Harvey Wallbanger, and she'd say, get the hell out of here. But it's like
exactly.
And they would, they would have blended drinks and shit. It's like
a lot of that stuff, and a lot of neon liquors too. A lot of those brightly colored liquors that. Now the Harvey Wallbanger is pretty tame compared to some of those. You've got orange juice, which freshly squeezed is the only way to go if you can get it.
I have an
some
orange
vodka, then some simple syrup. Then we're going to throw in a couple dashes of orange bitters. And then we're going to float right on the top Galliano. Now, Galliano is an herbal liqueur. It's got a little bit, I think, to my taste, it's great. It's what makes this cocktail.
Yeah, I do too.
But it's kind of licoricey flavored, don't you think?
Yeah, anise, lots of anise. And I didn't say anise.
Yes,
I said anise.
yes, anise.
But
right.
It does kind of taste anise.
Then we're gonna take a slice, float it right on the top. And Dave, did you make one for yourself?
I'm going to tell you a story. I did make one, and
you drank it.
My drink. No, I'll explain it in a second. But I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something about Harvey Wallbanger. Oh, Galliano has a cool bottle too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's what happened. I made one, and I squeezed some oranges from my tree, and I didn't have any bitter, so I said, "Screw it, I don't care." And I didn't have any Galliano, so I didn't care. So it's basically a screwdriver.
Yeah, a screwdriver.
But what happened is, and if anybody out there can help me, I have this glass that's the coolest glass for, like a rocks glass. And it says Union Pacific Railroad on it, but not like the official logo. It was a restaurant somewhere, and I was at an event, and I got 2 of these, and somebody signed it. And they signed it. I don't know. And when I started drinking it, it started to come off. So I poured it out and stopped. So now I'm drinking Jack in a 7 tiki glass.
Oh, there you go.
My Wallbanger's gone, but it was basically a screwdriver anyway. So.
Well, you know what? I went and I bought the Galliano, and I said, I wonder how often I'm going to use this. Because it comes in that big kind of
it's a cool bottle.
glass. Really cool.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be drinking it. I like it. And I like the Harvey Wallbanger. New favorite.
You know what? It has alcohol in it, so I'm pretty happy with Galliano.
You're good with it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't particularly like anise because when I was young, I had asthma really bad, and I took this liquid that was like yellowish goo. It was almost like thin pudding that tasted like licorice. It was awful. It was so bad.
Sounds so good.
Oh, dude. So anything licorice, I love red licorice, but anything black licorice, I get a little, I remember, and that was way before the 80s. So it was really, really good.
So let's dive right in here. We're going to do a deep dive today. Let's dive
Van
right
Halen.
in.
It's Van Halen all the way, 1984.
Yeah. No kidding. Dude, okay, I would tell you, you brought up Van Halen, you know the linkage that I have there. And I might have brought this up on a previous show, but
we can repeat ourselves. It's cool.
Yes, we can, because people, you don't listen to every episode, damn you.
Yeah, and then it's true.
But the thing is I can distinctly remember a friend of mine, Mark Peters. He had a 64 Chevelle, and he had his 8-track in there, man.
Nice.
And we were pulling into school. And in the school parking lot, he goes, you got to hear these guys. And he put in Van Halen, and I'd never heard them before. And I remember David Lee Roth and, standing on the edge and, everything. And I just remember going, whoa, who is this band? Yeah. And just one of those ones that just stuck out, punched you in the face, and went, these guys rock. And
it still does. Still does.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, when you hear the beginning of Jamie crying, you hear it and you just go, dang, that was good. It was just, yeah.
It is part of, and I'm glad you brought it up, because it is part of what truly made the 80s so iconic.
Right.
Is the
fact. It was Reaganomics or Van Halen. I'll take Van Halen.
But I mean, when you look at it, there were so many things just like Van Halen that just came out and just made such an impact. Whether it was films that were fun or it was a way of dressing. And immediately after, in the 90s, people made fun of it. It was the decade of decadence. Nobody cared. It was yuppies. And it was Biff and Buffy, and then you also had the discussions about the
Nice.
the long the bad hair and all of the help me here, Dave. You're supposed to read my mind. The hair, long party in the back, business in the front.
Yeah, mullet.
Thank you. See,
welcome.
and in the 80s, I would have been able to remember that. That's the other and
or
if
one
I
less
took these off, I wouldn't have to put my glasses on to see everything because it was the 80s. And my big hair was big and it was big and thick, not big and thin. So
weird is, mine was there. But I literally, I think my eyes are better than they were in the 80s. Because my prescription has gone better.
I thought you were saying because everything was kind of blurry in the 80s.
That could be too, but my prescription is long distance, so I don't really need them, but they look cool, so I wear them.
They look cool, so you wear them.
Yeah.
So give me one, like I told you about listening to Van Halen, what's one thing for you that just kind of...
I said Van Halen first.
No, I know.
That was huge.
I know, but I told you a story. But something that just impacted you about
I wore this because that was the 80s are the year of the Niners. I mean, it was literally Joe Montana came in and it changed everybody in Northern California's life. It was like, holy crap, we went on Super Bowl runs and it was just infectious. And that led to a lot of drinking, of course, because you have to celebrate and party. And the time I won a case of tequila over a bet on the Niners, things like that, the Bar of America in Truckee, all those places, it was crazy. The other thing I remember, I remember it's weird because I was going through, I went to Art Center and I had a really good paying job and I left that to go to Art Center through the 80s. And when I got to LA to go to Art Center, that's when the Sunset Strip and the music scene hit. Van Halen was already kind of established, but then you started, Guns N' Roses started playing there, and then you had all the crew, everybody. And to me, I loved music anyway, like we both do. And to be right smack in the middle of it, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. So the 80s for me, people say they suck. I loved it, man. It was like, this is so cool.
I think as time goes on, and there was recently an article in the Wall Street Journal that proves it and kind of documents that the 80s have become just more genuine, just more loved. And it's a little interesting because when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, I remember hearing 50s music and thinking, all this 50s music stuff. And it was that nostalgia for the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for that live, so thanks.
I wasn't. You were. But now it's just shifted. It's that, and it's interesting how certain decades do that. Yeah, there's a love for the 60s and there's a love for the
60s was free love and the Beat Generation and it was all the Haight Ashbury, but 70s, it was Vietnam War and 68, 70 through there. And that was the 70s were kind of acid tripping and it was more like serious. And then the 80s were kind of like you Izod shirts and colorful and you got Dave. I mean, Diamond Dave, the other one, came out wearing spandex pants and going crazy. And you're like, what the hell is this? And it was epic. It was like
MTV. Three letters that sum up that entire decade.
Radio star.
I can remember it.
Me too.
I invested in a Sony TV, and it was so bitching at the time.
Trinitron.
My friends, exactly. My friends would come over, and they would go, "Oh my God, dude, look at that TV!" Because everything about it summed up what I loved, which was cool stuff with great design, just like you did. Yeah. And it had a little touch panel that first of all, it was in this beautiful wood cabinet that swiveled back and forth. And then it had smoked glass over the screen so that it gave it a flat screen appearance, and it was non-glare. And then the final element that just made it for me was when you walked up, there was a little like black glass panel that you touched, and just like a stereo cabinet, it opened slowly and kind of came towards you. And there was the remote control was about 7 inches long and an inch wide. And it was housed in there, and you removed it. And everything about that was just so cool. And that was like, for the 80s, that was like, oh my God.
I remember at the time, like going to Federated, Fred Rated, and going in and saying, I want this, I want the Sony. And the guy'd go, inside they're all the same kind of components. And I go, yeah, well, that looks better, so I'm taking that. I don't care. My eye doesn't determine the blacks as well as you do, or the Blu-ray running through, or the white-black contrast. I don't care. That looks good, so I'm going to do it.
That's so true. And I remember I had this bitchin' TV in the corner, and I was sitting on a couch that one of the legs was broke off, and it was held up by a brick. It was like
the coolest TV.
That's right, man. I had the coolest TV.
Priorities.
And not only that, because I was an upwardly mobile guy wanting to make it in business, I also had a $395 Zero Halliburton aluminum briefcase.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
That's pretty huge. It's funny because I think that the 80s also kind of started, well, I guess Led Zeppelin's kind of a super group, but they started, like, people had left bands, because bands always stayed together and never left. And then, like, the 80s, they all started to kind of move around.
You remember when the Rolling Stones broke up?
Yeah, see? And then they reunited with Nick Jones, whatever. Yeah, I remember that.
Well, let's
kind of that.
Let's kind of take this. Where do you want to go? You want to go film? You want to go music? Or you want to go automobile first?
Well, before we do that, I think the first Mac was 84, I think 85 or 86, something like that. Dude,
no, wait a minute. I got to show you. You know that I've been cleaning my garage, right?
So you found one.
I keep everything, as everyone knows. This was not planned, as you know, Dave, but I'm going to show you something that I found.
Look at that. Holy crap. Is it just the box, or is it in there? Look at that. That's big money, buddy.
Look at this. We're going to open it up. We're doing an online unboxing.
Remember, eBay.
Look,
Brad Fanshaw, what is it?
Look, it's even the official
Apple,
Mac bag.
Yeah.
And we're opening it up here to unveil a state-of-the-art laptop computer from Apple.
That is
the newest.
Impressive.
Right there. Look at that sucker. These right here give you that angle you need when you're sitting there on your desktop.
That is crazy.
And Dave, this is complete because, as I will show you, everyone needs these.
Dude. And colored.
That's right. And
because usually they were just
this is fully internet accessible.
Jeez. You're like the dude. So what are you going to do?
It'll probably go back in the box and sit around my place for the next 20 years. I don't know. If anybody wants to buy it for some exorbitant amount, please get a hold of me. And I will tell you that who knows what treasures might be on the hard drive. There's probably business plans to take Boyd's wheels.
Here, I got one right here. I looked it up for you. Here's a vintage MacBook portable, $600.
Ooh, I like that.
You got everything, man.
So,
Apple.
So you are absolutely right.
I think you're good, man. That's cool.
So when I found that, I did not even know I had it. And I do have my next one that I bought. The one that I bought after it is in the warehouse. And
no way.
Yes, I have both of them.
And so what is the reason for hanging on to them, just in case technology goes backwards? Or I'm not sure.
Dude, I don't know why I hang on to this stuff. I have so much stuff that I need to get rid of.
TV?
No, I finally got rid of that a couple years ago. When it finally gave up the ghost, I had it in a guest bedroom, and I was like, oh, I can't get rid of this thing, man. But I'm sick, dude.
That's crazy.
And I am honestly trying to get rid of a lot of stuff. I'm considering having a warehouse sale here one weekend. And as Rick, who works for me, pointed out, I need to be careful how I put it, because I said, I need to go through all my stuff, put it all out on tables, and say, make me an offer because it's going in the dumpster tomorrow. And he goes, no, don't say it like that. He goes, because the next day there'll be all those guys that are going to the dumpster.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Oh, I thought you were going to say, people came and wanted to buy my warehouse. And like, no, I'm selling the shit in it.
I mean, I have great stuff, but I have too much of it. And I'll be honest with you, I have always had this delusion of grandeur where I was going to be more than a millionaire. I was going to be a billionaire, and I'd have these buildings, and I could have like my own museum of all my stuff. I'd have my BMX area. I'd have my automotive area. I'd have, all this cool stuff. You know what?
You can still dream.
It's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm going to get rid of all that shit. And then it'll happen, which will be fine with me. I can buy it all back then. So anyways, we were on the point of saying, are we going to go music, cars, or film first? Which are we going to go?
Yeah, I don't care.
How about cars? Because that's kind of the bottom. And then we'll work our way up. Okay, so the 1980s come in kind of with a whimper. That you left the 70s, hard rock, acid rock. You came in with cars that had lots of horsepower. And as we entered, the end of the 70s, I take that back. They didn't have lots of horsepower.
Well, but it was still, you think of the fuel crisis as 80.
Yes. And you think of disco. And you think of, disco was dying. Remember the parties they would have where the DJs would have, record burnings and stuff like that for disco?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
And so all of that.
You mentioned the Stones. Even the Stones did a disco, Rick.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I will tell you this, and this is something that not many people know, and I was privy to it. But when I was taking my company public, which was called Boyd Wheels, for those of you don't know, we had been approached by Harley Davidson. They thought that our company could possibly be a complement to Harley's offerings, and this would have been in the early 90s. So Willie G. Davidson and his guy that worked with him invited myself and my partner back to Milwaukee to have some meetings and just kind of get to know each other, see if we jived and if it would work and everything. And they took us in. They had a private Harley Davidson museum. Have you seen this, Dave?
Yes, I have.
Okay. They took us, and they took us to an...
Did I mention Willie went to Art Center also?
I didn't know that. I actually didn't know that. And so they said, hey, we're going to take you guys in an area that nobody gets to see normally. And we went in, and in a separate area of the museum that wasn't open to the public or even private tours, there was all of the motorcycles from the AMF era, when AMF bought Harley Davidson.
Hide them.
And
the soccer ball bikes.
Yeah, with the stripes and all the colors. But in there, Willie pointed out a motorcycle that he said, in his words, that motorcycle, if it would have made it to market, would have killed Harley Davidson. And it was, dude, I'm telling you, when you looked at it, you thought it was a Kawasaki KZ1000.
Yeah.
It was a 2-stroke, dead nuts replica of like a KZ with Harley Davidson AMF on the side. And he goes, that's where the shit hit the fan, man, you know? Yeah. And we were like, whoa, really? I was so intrigued by that. But it kind of surmised the 80s.
That was him. That was totally him going, those effing guys, we got to get this company back.
Oh, yeah. And then he took us out to his house, and it was the first garage I ever saw with heated floors. And I was like, you know, when you live up there in Wisconsin, cool. I guess you got to have heated floors.
Yeah, his house is cool.
Yeah, but it didn't happen. And, you know, that's just memories for the memory bank. We did get, I went to Sturgis with Willie G and saw what a hero he was to thousands of guys. Oh, yeah. Now when I run into him at the drag races, he's like, I'm always the guy who goes, you're the business guy. You're the business guy. So, anyways.
I feel that's because he calls me Davey. So I like that. It's a term of endearment. Davey.
He's a good guy. He really is. I can't remember the younger guy that was his like right-hand man. And I feel bad because he was a really nice guy, was always really square with us and really good. But getting into the cars. So as I graduated from high school and moved into the 80s, I was looking at, you know, coming out, being a muscle car guy with, you know, big block Chevelles and big block Camaros and things like that. I was so excited to buy my first new car. And then I was so bummed out when my first new car was an 84 Monte Carlo SS with a 305 in it that had no horsepower.
Yeah, and slow transmission.
It was, I mean, the car looked great. I mean, it was cool. It was, you know, so then I bought a so
that's the first car you ever bought, brand new?
That's the first car I bought brand new. Yeah. And then I followed it up by a buddy of mine at work. When I was one of the guys at the American Bicycle Association, we were running all the BMX races, and it was actually my boss. And he went out and bought a brand new 84 Z28 Camaro with every option.
Okay.
T-tops. I mean, everything. And I was like, wow, man, I wish I could afford something like that. He bought it, Dave, 6 months later. And this guy kept his stuff in really great shape. 6 months later, he came in and he was so bummed. And I go, what's wrong? And he goes, shit, they just announced the IROC Z. And he goes, if I would have known that, I would have bought this. And I said, oh, that sucks. And he, couple weeks later, he comes in and he goes, I bought an IROC. I put it on order, man. It's red. Yeah. It's got every option. And I was like,
get the pink one?
It's like, dude, a red IROC Z with gold trim. That is so rad. And I thought, that is so cool. And about 2 months went by, 3 months went by. He comes in and he's bummed again. And I go, what's going on? And he goes, can't sell my Z28. I got an IROC being delivered in a few weeks. And so needless to say, he gave me the deal of all deals just to get out from underneath the payments. And I bought his Camaro Z28 for my wife, Charlotte. So now here we are. We got a brick under the couch. We got a nice Sony TV, and we got an IROC and a Monte Carlo SS. Now, when I bought the Monte Carlo SS, what I really wanted was a Grand National Buick. But holy crap, that was even more expensive than the IROC Z, and I could only drool over it in the dealership. But the dealership.
How'd you get the Grand National now, you'd be in good shape.
I know I sold it. I sold it.
No, if you had a Grand National now.
I had it up until 4 years ago. I sold it.
Anyway, I thought you could sell it with your Mac.
So the guy, exactly. The guy down the street bought it from the dealership. It was on the showroom floor. He bought it. And I'd drive by my Monte Carlo SS or Charlotte Z28, and I'd stare at it. I'd go, God, that car's badass. And so the part that I left out was my wife, when I bought the Z28, had a 1980 Chevrolet Monza, bright red, that I had lowered and did special order center lines that were 4-lug on it. So now I've got a big black Chevelle, a big black El Camino, Monte Carlo SS, and
there's a lot of Chevys going on in your house. A
Camaro Z28 and her Monza. And so I'm getting ready to go to work one day, and I'm going to drive the Monza to work. And what I forgot to tell you, okay, I screwed my whole story up, Dave. Go back. I didn't own the Z28 yet because I wanted to buy the Z28. I was saying, let's get rid of your Monza. Denny's selling that car for next to nothing, man. I can pick it up for a song. I remember having an argument with her and saying, well, if we could sell that Monza, I know your grandpa bought it for you. I know you love it, but that Z28 is so badass. That day on the way to work, I had a horrendous traffic accident.
There we go.
Totaled the Monza. Ended up in the hospital. But the good news out of it was, with the insurance money, I bought the Z28.
Did you do it on purpose? You were willing it to happen. Come on.
So then, anyways, the guy down the street, he bought the Grand National. I lusted over that car. It was about 9 months in his driveway. And all of a sudden, I see a for sale sign pop up on it.
No way.
What? He's selling it? Why would you sell a Buick Grand National? And I walked down there and I go, hey, dude, so you selling your car? He goes, yeah, I hate this fucking car. And I go, what? And he goes, whoever talks me into buying a black car with a moonroof in Arizona, he goes, I should have never listened to him. And I said, dude, man, I wish I could buy it. And he gave me a price, and I went, oh my God, I got to own this car because it was cheap. It was a giveaway. Guy hated the car. And so I don't even know how. I don't remember how, but I was able to buy that car.
So I told the Monza, I bought the Z28, I sold the Z28, I got the other.
No. So now I have a Monte Carlo SS, I have a Camaro Z28, and a Buick Grand National, plus 2 big black muscle cars. And so I have the quintessential 80s setup, man. People driving past my house are going, dude, he's got a Monte Carlo SS, a Z28, and a Buick Grand National. So I'm servicing this debt, Dave, and I'm going, this is ridiculous. We got to get rid of one of these cars. Well, you know what one went down the road, don't you?
Well, not the Z28 and not the Grand National. Oh, really?
No, the Z28. And the reason was because
the Monte Carlo was kind of, slow.
Because the Z28 had that hatchback, that glass hatchback.
Right.
And it had T-tops, and it had that laid-back windshield. Do you know what that car was like in Arizona in like July and August?
See, if that guy had driven that car first, he would have kept the Grand National.
That's right. So we sold it against my wife's. She really didn't want that car to go down the road, and it went down the road, and I ended up with those two. And I finally got rid of the Monte Carlo SS in about 95. It went to Tokyo, Japan. The Grand National, after years of holding on to it, about 4 years ago, I sold it. And the story of selling that car was pretty interesting because the guy who bought it had sat in it, that actual Grand National, in the Buick dealership. He was there visiting the Buick dealership with his grandpa, and his grandpa is leaning on the car. He's sitting in it, and he's like 14 years old or 12 or 14. And he goes, when I saw this car come up for sale, I was like, I don't care how much you're charging for it. I want to own it because it's the car that I sat in with my grandpa. And and so I knew it was going to a good home. And yeah, but
nice.
But if we go beyond that, what did you own in the 80s?
Well, it's funny because
other than your Daytona Ferrari.
Yeah, that I had to sell that. No, yeah, it was a replica. It was the Miami Vice.
It was on a Fiero chassis.
Yeah, it was on it was a Corvette. That literally the first car I ever bought new was an '88 CRX, and I know, and I had just, when you're speaking about the '80s and that whole phenomena, and through the muscle cars, and you think gas prices and gas prices more or less put Honda on the map, and through Civic and things like that, but. The '84 Civic, that's when the CRX came out, but the squareback Civic, that's part of why it was the racing, and then that was part of why I went to Honda. It's kind of like the Sony thing. You could take a crappy little economy car, but if you package it to look cool, which that hatchback was still one of the coolest cars ever. So I just went, man, I got to go work there. So I started working, and when I interviewed, they said, you get a good price on this car, and you can buy it through the company. And I'm like, shit, I'll buy the CRX. So I bought the '88 CRX because I knew it was coming. And literally, I had that for quite a while. And that, it got tuned by Mugen because Hirotoshi Honda is Mr. Honda's son, and he owns Mugen. So I went to Mugen, and because the people that I worked with knew everybody in the company.
Oh yeah,
and that's kind of how I became to know everyone at Honda, because of the people that I worked for knew everybody. And, you just latch on to a couple of really go-get-em Japanese guys, and they take you everywhere in Japan. So I ended up coming back with a Mugen wing. I had Giugiaro wheels on it. I had everything. But it was literally, I was a muscle car guy, and I had actually got rid of my Boss 302 to buy a 911, which was not a big car. So I started to realize, road racing and drag racing, my fight between them. But that CRX was perfect. I mean, I'll tell you a TV story, and it's federated again. I borrowed a Camry wagon from work to go get a new TV. It was like at the time, a 35-inch XBR or something. And I'd gotten a big screen later, but I go there with this station wagon. This is maybe 88 or 89. I go there, and it wouldn't fit. The box wouldn't fit in the Camry. So I came back with my CRX, and I lifted the hatch up, and it went right in, and I drove home and had the TV. And I tell people that all the time, that you couldn't put it in the station wagon. It was amazing. That car could do everything. I love that car, man. And it's so small now when you look at them when we go to shows or whatever, and
they're tiny, man.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. It's like, wow, I had one of those. Like you could park two in an apartment complex, like back to back. It was like having them. I mean, it's probably the same size as a Mini now, almost. But yeah, it was cool, and then it kind of, just kind of paved the way for more sports and stuff.
If you could have any car, if money was no object, back in the 80s, I'm not talking about today. Back in the 80s, what car would you have, if somebody said, here you go, blank check, whatever car you go out, but you got to use it to buy a car, what would you have gone and bought?
Oh boy, I'd buy an Aston Martin Lagonda maybe, or something. Jeez, I don't know.
I did like the Lagonda, as weird as it was.
Yeah, it was cool. It was like this, an LMO too. What's the 80s to 90s? It has to be an 80s car.
An 80s car, yeah.
Yeah, I would probably, I'd probably stick with. Yeah, I don't know. Wow.
Come on, man.
I'd do the Lagonda. I think that would be like awesome.
Not like a Lamborghini Countach with all the wings and
no,
or an LM. I love the LM2000s, man.
I almost said Countach, but it's just, yeah, I mean, and it was groundbreaking, but, you know, F40 was almost 90. I mean,
that was in the 90s, yeah.
I'd do an F40 anytime, because F40 was kind of bridging the 80s a little bit.
But the
F40 would be.
I remember I was living in Arizona, and I pulled up to a stoplight one day, and I was over in Scottsdale, and this red, what were they, LM2000s? Is that what they're called? The Lamborghini, the big off-road Lamborghini?
LM002.
What?
LM002.
Oh, okay. I had it dyslexic there. It would be, you know, unusual to see one on the street.
Yeah.
And here comes this, pulls up next to me, and I look over, I'm like,
what is that?
Oh my God.
Even today,
those Lamborghinis, man. And as I'm looking at it, I glance in my rearview mirror, and I hear this girl going, hey, hey. And behind it is a matching red Countach.
Oh, no way.
The girl's jumping out. The door flips up, you know, they flipped up. She's jumped up. She's with the guy in the damn, you know, LM, and they're together. And he's going, no, it's not that much farther. We're gonna go around the corner here, and my house is up a little farther. I'm thinking,
just ain't driving your car,
dude. You are living the life, you know. It's like, but
how you doing?
Yeah, you know, I mean, and then I used to go to a bar. There were two bars that I loved in Scottsdale in the 80s.
I used to go to a bar.
You did? You still do?
Well, I do, underground.
But if you lived in Scottsdale in the 1980s, there were a couple of them that, if I mention them, you are going to know. And one of them was called the Downside Risk. You know, 80s, the stock market, all of, you know, Wall Street, everything like that. And it was called the Downside Risk. What drew me to that bar in the first place was
Harvey Wallbangers.
No, but since you mentioned, was the car that sat out front.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember.
It was a Ferrari GTO. Now I'm not talking about the ones that are worth 70 million now. I'm talking about the 80s GTO. Remember, it was like a 308 on steroids.
Well, that was the pre F40.
Yes, so exactly. And that thing sat out front with its big cloisonine emblem on the fender. Yeah. And I just went, oh. So I went in there to see who owned this car, man. And it was this guy, and I remember he's this wiry dude, had a mullet going on, and he was an ex-stockbroker that retired to Scottsdale. And he was probably only in his 40s. And he had this GTO, and he hung out at the Downside Risk.
How about that? Living the life.
Yeah, no kidding. And the other place was not very far from there. It was about less than a half mile. And it was called the Phone Booth. You walked in, it's this hopping bar, and it was right on Scottsdale Road. And every single table had a phone at it. And it wasn't a phone to the outside. Every table had a table number. And so, like, you just go, oh, those girls are good looking. They're at table 32. 32. Their phone would ring, and they'd pick up. And it was the coolest place and the worst place, because you'd be sitting there sometimes, and you know, some girl would call up and go, hey, I saw you sitting at table 52. Man, you're hot, you know, and you know, and start talking to you, and then you go, well, what table you at? What table you at? And they'd go, not telling you, click. Or other times they'd call and they'd go, hey, you want to dance? And you're like, wow, what table are you at? Yeah. They'd go, table 33, and you'd go, no thanks.
Yeah, Prince Albert in a can.
Yeah, and then every once in a while you'd get that, yeah, I see you sitting there with that other guy. What's going on? Do you even like girls? Or, you know, something, you know, something bad.
You weren't pink eyes on shirt, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I will tell you, I will tell you a story, and this can be verified by friends. One night we were at the phone booth, and a girl called, asked if I wanted to dance. I said, okay. And then she goes, hey, you want to step out into the parking lot? And because I had told her I liked cars. And I walked out, and she had a white Ferrari.
No,
and
nice.
And I was like,
wow.
I just want to drive your car.
Yeah.
It was the first Ferrari I ever drove, dude. And I came back, my friend goes, dude, so, yeah, you got lucky out there? I said, I did. I drove a Ferrari.
I got off. I drove a white Testarossa, just like Sonny Crockett.
He thought I was out making out with the girl, and I was driving her car, man.
Wow. Yeah, that's Brad's priorities for everybody out there.
Yes, that's right. It was the 80s, dude. Come on.
Hey, yeah.
So
plenty of see, not a lot of Ferraris.
What about music?
Music was, like I said, it was huge for, it was arena rock too. The 70s had because I did a lot of Day on the Green.
Big Hair and arena rock.
Yeah, but then arena rock started, which was kind of different from the Bill Graham Presents stuff. It was more like stadium. It wasn't a bunch of bands. It was like, we're there to see Van Halen. We're there to see.
Yeah.
And it was big. It was like, and that was, California Jam was a little, but then, through 80s was Live Aid, and, it was kind of that era of big music. It was cool. But
it was such a variety of music too.
Yeah. I mean that was a lot of it. It was starting to, because you had, you had the vestiges of punk, but you had almost alternative music was starting to be big, and a lot of morose people singing. It's like it was kind of weird. It was kind of like you either chose sides or something. But
it was across. You're right, chose sides, because it was across the board. You had everything from Michael Jackson with It after It. Then you had Van Halen, but then you had Simple Minds, and you had
that's
Prince,
what I mean.
And you had Whitney Houston. Remember, Whitney Houston had all those.
Yeah, but I think and that was for people that it's weird if you look at the demographic of people that looked at who do they like. But Michael Jackson, smarter than the average bear, because he said, hey, I understand from somebody that when he wrote Beat It and he took it to Quincy Jones or whoever, the record company, and they said no. And
he told him to beat it?
Yeah. And he said, I don't care. Yeah, I told him to get the hell out. Beat it, buddy. And he had told Eddie, I guess, just come and play guitar on this. And he literally crossed over and said, I've got, Eddie Van Halen playing guitar, because he had Steve Stevens playing stuff. But he finally, I guess he put so much pressure on the record company that they finally released it as a single or something. But can you imagine not putting that on an album?
The first time I ever saw Michael Jackson?
No. You mean live or?
I'm talking live. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
live or not live. I mean, the first time I ever saw the dude, I was in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I was on a high school. There was this thing called DECA, which was Distributive Education Clubs of America. Basically, it was people that wanted to go into business. You took this this class, and then you also got credit for working too. And I thought, what a great scam! I got to work anyway, so if I get credit for working.
We had HSFAA. It was High School Future Alcoholics Anonymous. So I did that. So we had this big convention in Minneapolis where you would go and you would, compete in these different competitions, and like ROTC for
business guys, yeah. And Dave, I won. Just have you know. And it's amazing when I tell people what I won. The classification that I won was in training and teaching people, and they're like,
wow.
Dude, you won that because you're like the most skip over everything guy I've ever met. It's like, I've got a big picture idea. Now you guys come and make it happen.
But you do a lot of, hey, it's kind of like this. Can you make it kind of like this? Can you like this? So you're like that. You're the not trainer, but more descriptive, I guess.
So we had some free time. And as you know, you've been to Minneapolis. The downtown area is like a habit trail. You go through the tubes, you go through, you don't have to go outside. And all these kids went literally running by. I was a kid too. And somebody said, dude, we got to go. I go, what? And he goes, Michael Jackson is doing a free concert over in the such and such area. And I'm like, who's Michael Jackson? I didn't know he was, And they go, Jackson 5 and all that. And I'm like, and it was when he had first broke off. And so I went over and I remember looking down over the rail and there he is down there, singing and stuff. Never even thought anything of it. And then years later, it was maybe 2 years later, he was huger than huge. He was the biggest guy ever. And then at Vision, we did a promotion with MTV. And I remember at this point, he was at the pinnacle. And we were in New York and we went into the soundstage with the guys from MTV. And it was, Michael Jackson's here. And he's, I don't know if we're going to meet him or not, but we didn't. He was, he was too big. We saw him from afar, and that was it.
I know. I've told you this before, but Alan Merrick, BB Chun King, he told me that he was in a sound studio next door one time. And he said, I'll tell you, Dave, that he doesn't always have the Michael Jackson voice. I just want you to know that. Because
how are you doing?
And then literally he goes, wow, oh shit. And then he went back into his studio. But yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of that, he's the moonwalk and all that. Because when I was working at the state printing office, we had really slippery concrete floors. So we all practiced our moonwalks. And we just you had these big doors like big giant fire doors because there's so much paper in the printing office. And you'd see one of us would moonwalk past the doors while everybody's at break, and you just go, oh my God. Like, it was great. But that, that kind of defines.
Dave, let's see your moonwalk. Come on.
So much, yeah.
Because I know I can't do it. Never could.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of dexterity, but yeah, it was fun. But yeah, I mean, that kind of the showmanship was always there, like Sammy Davis Jr. or Fred Astaire, people like that. But Michael brought it to.
He was awesome. He was an incredible individual. Okay, let's have a little fun.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you songs, and you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Okay.
80 songs that are just across the board. Okay.
Okay.
And
this is just
when you think of how the 80s began with Kool and the Gang and Celebration, and then it went from there.
Should I do thumbs up if I like it, or thumbs up that it was huge for the business?
I want you personally. This is Dave's opinion. And you can't just give me a visual thumbs up. You got to say thumbs up or thumbs down because not everyone's watching the video. Okay. Hold on 1 second. We'll get it. I'm trying to get my computers to where I can do it. Okay. First one, 1982, Billie Jean, Michael Jackson.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about, and you know what?
She's not my lover.
This one kind of surprised me. I forgot it was in the 80s. Guns N' Roses, 1987, Sweet Child of Mine.
Well, I can't. Yeah, it's way thumbs up. It's.
I thought that was the 90s. I really did. I didn't realize it was.
No, that all of that, like Welcome to the Jungle, was 87.
Which the first time I ever heard it or saw it was in that movie with.
The Clint Eastwood movie.
Clint Eastwood, thank you.
Yeah, with Jim Carrey playing.
Yes.
Action.
And it was the first
Slash is in that.
What is this song? I don't care about the movie.
If you guys, it's Deadpool, isn't it?
Yes.
It's Deadpool. Anyway, Slash, the whole band's in it except Axl. They had Jim Carrey play. It's like, dude.
Crazy. All right.
Yeah, but it was 87, 80. Okay, I'm ready.
The year's 1985.
85.
Take on Me by Aha.
Ha! Take on me. I'm gonna do the thumbs in the middle. I like the video, but yeah. I like it. I'm okay with it. One thumb up. How about that?
Okay, there we go. All right, how about I Want to Dance with Somebody? Whitney Houston, 1987.
I'm gonna go thumbs across.
See, another exceptional artist that just isn't our style, right?
Yeah, but I like other songs. I mean, I think she nailed the Dolly Parton. You know, that's amazing. But yeah, I Want to Dance with Somebody was too poppy disco for me. But
how about 1984, the best year ever? When Doves Cry with Prince.
Yeah, you gotta give me some that I wouldn't like. I mean, I like When Doves Cry, but also not my favorite Prince song.
Okay, how about
Little Corvette Has a Car?
The Human League, 1981, Don't You Want Me?
No, I Don't Want You.
There, I gave you one.
No, don't you? No, negative.
Now we're going to 1986.
Okay.
Big Hair, Living on a Prayer, Bon Jovi.
Bon Jovi. Oh, shit. I'm going to go thumbs in the middle. Yeah, I'll tell you why. I like Wanted. I'm not a huge Bon Jovi fan. I like him, okay, but
I always liked him. And then I was told by a friend of mine when I met John Bon Jovi. I've met pretty much all the guys in the band, but when I met John, I came back and I told a friend of mine who will rename nameless, who's in the music industry and was big when they were big. And he said,
well, that narrowed it down. You.
He said, oh, you met John. And I said, yeah. And he goes, he's a dick.
What a dick.
And I was like, he was nice to me, but
and he was nice to me when I met him, but it's not, it's too formulaic.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. How about 1980, Queen, Another One Bites the Dust?
I'll go with Queen. Any Queen is good with me. Let me rephrase that.
I heard that.
Any song by Queen is good with me.
Okay.
Whatever they choose to do in their own life, if he's a Queen, I'm fine with it.
Here's an artist who has made millions, tens of millions, possibly even tens of millions off of this song from 1983. All night long, all night. Lionel Richie.
Lionel, I'm going to go thumbs sort of down. Just because I like the Commodore.
That guy made so much money off of Dancing on the Ceiling and all that long.
No, the thing is that the Commodores, I like the Commodore because I liked Tower of Power and I liked Earth, Wind and Fire and I liked Ohio Players. So the Commodores were okay, Brick House, that kind of thing. But I will say this: I wouldn't if it was on the radio, I'd probably change it. But I will say this: that Lionel. He had hired Jeff Clare, our good friend, to do his residency, and Jeff was ending. And Jeff said this: he was ending in end of January with who was he? Oh, with Aerosmith, and he wasn't going to play till June with Lionel. And he said to Lionel, "Is it cool if I go out with some other people?" And Lionel said, "How about I just pay you till then?" And he did.
What a dick!
So that guy's awesome. No matter what you think, I'm good with him from that story because that's pretty amazing.
Okay, Dave, the next one, I want to ask you this. It was 1984. Did you ever do a flip that you reversed to make it look like you were going the other way?
I could flip that way. I couldn't flip the other way.
Jump by Van Halen, 1980.
You might as well jump. Odd for Teacher is going to be the one I would go with, but that synthesizer, that whole synthesizer thing ruined Van Halen, man.
Yeah, I know that.
They went downhill immediately.
I know the answer to the next one. This is going to be a big thumbs up. You'll probably hop up, go favorite song ever. 1986, The Bangles, Walk Like an Egyptian.
Walk like an Egyptian. I'm going to go even again. I appreciate
Hated
them.
that song. It was
Did you? I appreciate
so much.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Made my
I
ears
appreciate
hurt.
them, but yeah, it wasn't cool. But I like Susanna Hoff. She was cool, and I know the two girls. So
How about Karma Chameleon by Culture Club?
Corey's gonna hate me. No, thumbs down.
1983.
I have seen Culture Club a bunch of times, and they're pretty fun in concert. But yeah.
Have you ever been under pressure like David Bowie in 1981?
Well, that was also a Queen, so I said if it's a Queen song, I have to kind of like it. Under pressure, well, I'm gonna go maybe halfway down thumbs. It's kind of, although it made Vanilla Ice some money, so that part.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd give that thumbs up.
How about Def Leppard, 1987? What are
Pour
they
some sugar?
Pour some sugar.
Pour some sugar on me. Yeah, I'll go thumbs up for Def Leppard. Again, for the same story, because the guys in the band are pretty cool and nice guys.
Okay. 1981, a great song. So I'm already giving it a thumbs up. Super Freak by Rick James.
Yeah, okay. That one I stand up. Yes, because everybody's super freaky.
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
Last one.
Okay.
1981. I actually thought this was later into the 80s, but I was incorrect. And it's In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins.
Yeah, I'm going to go no.
What's the best Phil Collins song ever?
The ones before he was in the band.
But the best thing is,
Cicito.
Boom. Just like in the movie where Mike Tyson ends Phil Collins on.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
knock to the jaw.
But yeah, I mean, Phil Collins is cool, but it just wasn't me. It was too 80s. I mean, he was in all the Miami Vices. If I was watching Miami Vice and Phil Collins, they're doing that In the Air Tonight, and it's all of that. And then Ted Nugent's on, that was a cool episode. It's like
everybody was on Miami Vice.
They were.
And
it was more Phil. It was like,
Phil played a funny character on there, and he was a repeat.
Yeah.
He came on many times.
So did Ted. Ted was in it a bunch of times.
He was, and gosh, who was the other guy? That was in it a lot. He played a drug runner. Surprise, surprise. Can't you think of him?
Musician?
Yes. Big musician.
Frankie Valli. No.
He died recently, Dave.
Elvis.
No. Recently. We're not in the 80s, okay? We're just reminiscing on the 80s. God darn it. Hotel California.
Oh, yeah. He was on all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's his name, though? If we're in the 80s, we could remember.
That's Elliot's best friend. Man, he was in Stone Ponies. Man, all right, let me do a drink and we'll remember.
We're going to have to think about that one because
Glenn Frey.
Glenn Frey. Thank you very much.
Glenn Frey, he was in it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
He's kind of a major character, yeah.
He was awesome in it. I loved his character in it. So, I don't know. That was, that show defined the 80s.
Yes, it did.
And when they came out with the film.
If you said any show define what is it, that's it.
So disappointed in the film. I like the film, but it just wasn't Miami Vice.
You know why? It's the opposite of what I usually say, and I'll say this for something like the Sherlock Holmes, which were cool-ish, but not, or Dragnet, or any of those, or Wild Wild West. With Miami Vice, they missed the levity, and they tried to make it so serious that it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
And the other ones, they made them too fun. They made them corny or whatever. It's like the perfect example I have is the Green Hornet. It's so stupid that you can't even watch it.
Yeah.
And I liked the Green Hornet. I liked, Bruce Lee's in it, and it was cool. But if you have enough levity, it's fun, but not stupid. But Miami Vice, they were too stiff and cranky.
It was almost like I'm trying to be so cool.
Exactly.
Not cool,
Because Don Johnson was cool just by making fun of people, not like I don't need to talk to you.
Yeah, well, and they had his Elvis, his crocodile.
Yeah,
all the crazy shit,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, as we lead into film and TV, what are the greatest films of the 1980s that you remember?
Oh man, well, like all of the ones you think of are like The Right Stuff and Driving Miss Daisy and what else? Mozart. Mozart's one of my favorite 80s movies.
What about Indiana Jones?
Yeah, I mean I love those, of course.
I watched the original Indiana Jones just about a week ago.
It's great.
And one of the things that I saw that just like hit me upside the head immediately was they actually were on location. And that's what changed after the 1980s.
Right.
One of my favorite films of the 80s is, I believe it was called No Way Out. Do you remember that?
I love that movie.
I love that. The best part of that movie is where he says, let's do like we used to do. And they race in the Ferrari and the Porsche from
Oh, no. That's not No Way Out. That's the one with Jeff Bridges?
Yeah, with Jeff Bridges.
That's not No Way Out. No Way Out is Kevin Costner.
Oh, okay. And that's the one where he is they're trying to get him that he did the murder, right?
Yeah.
Good film also, but not as good as the one I'm talking
about. Well, the No Way Out was, I'll tell you why, because I get shit from everybody for figuring out the ending, like The Sixth Sense. People were going, oh man, there's this huge thing at the end. You're going to be freaked out. And I go, so what was the huge thing at the end? They go, he was dead. I go, I knew he was dead the first 10 minutes. What are you talking about? So I'm always able to figure out, what's going on in the ending. Not No Way Out. No Way Out shocked the shit out of me when they're looking for Ivan or whatever his name was. And it turned out to be him. I'm like, spoiler alert. And I was like, what the hell? And that one completely floored me.
That was a good one. That was really good.
Not all the right moves, because that's Tom Cruise.
It's I'll tell you which ones it's not. It's not The Big Lebowski, because that was in the 90s.
No,
it's not Tron, even though that was the 80s. It's not Starman, even though that was the 80s.
Oh, this is Jeff Bridges' movies?
Yeah. And it's not The Fabulous Baker Boys, even though that was the 80s. But
all the right movies.
It is Against All Odds.
Against All Odds, that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's Rachel, what's her name?
Rachel Ward. Crazy Rachel Ward. Yeah. Allegedly. No.
Wow.
he was a professional football player, and he gets cut because he had a hurt shoulder. And
no, Rachel Ward wasn't crazy. It was what's her name from Ace Ventura.
What?
She was crazy. The one that was chasing James Woods. It wasn't Rachel Ward that was crazy. It was her when she dumped dog shit on his front yard or whatever.
No. Yes, but Rachel Ward was too. I know you mean. The girl who was in Superman, right?
No, that's Margot Kidder. She's wacky.
Well, anyways, so Against All Odds, you got Jeff Bridges, professional football guy, who's cut from the team, so he needs money. So he goes to work for James Woods, who plays a crooked nightclub owner and bookie, and he owes him money. And he goes, I can wipe out your thing, but you got to go to Mexico and get my girlfriend back. And it turns into being one of these films where, of course he falls in love with the girl, but the twist is that it's totally has nothing to do with the drugs or the bookies or anything like that. It's
racing down Sunset Boulevard.
It's about land development and everything like that. It's worth it. It's worth watching just for the scene where they race a Ferrari against up Sunset from the beach to down to like Hollywood. It is so awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a movie trivia. It's not trivia. It was on Jeopardy Friday, and the final Jeopardy question was 83 or 84. It was Oscars, but in 84, 2 movies were nominated with astronauts as characters. Do you know them?
Okay, ask me again. What two films were nominated for Oscars in 1984?
That had astronauts as characters.
As characters?
Yeah.
So
I got all the right moves. I mean, I got right stuff right away, but I couldn't think of the other one. And then once they said it, I was like, oh shit, I remember now.
Is it a Jack Nicholson film?
Yes, it is.
And it was filmed in
Omaha,
Nebraska.
Was it? Terms of endearment?
Yeah. Yes.
Jack Nicholson was an astronaut.
Right, and it was filmed in my wife's mother's neighborhood. Those houses they were in.
Okay.
It's supposed to be Houston, but they filmed it in Omaha, Nebraska.
Well, because a lot of it takes place in Alabama or something too, isn't it?
Yeah. But amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one for you. This might be an easy one for you. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I watched it last night, and one of the best movies ever. You can just watch that movie over and over and over.
Phoebe Cates they're like the longest running marriage in Hollywood, aren't they? Kevin Kline and Phoebe Cates.
Oh yeah, and it never gets old. I mean, watching Spicoli, man.
Who are the people?
He nailed that part. He nailed it.
Perfect.
And
I mean, Sean Penn, you think of how good an actor he is because of that.
Yes.
You know, at the time you thought that's just that dude, but now you think, wow.
They just hired some stoner dude who was an actor. Yeah, it's like.
Hey, man. Yeah.
What is that? That's my head, man. I mean, it's so great. But what well-known actor is in that? And his only credit is Brad's bud.
Bill Murray.
No.
I always do it because Bill Murray he never gets credit for movies like Tootsie. He was never in the credits, but he's in. Brad's bud. I don't know.
Nicolas Cage.
Oh.
He's behind the grill for just like a quick shot, like a pan shot. And in the credits, he's not even Nicolas Cage. He's Nicholas Coppola.
Coppola, yeah, because he was Nick Coppola for a long time, right?
And he's just credited as Brad's bud.
Brad's bud.
Not grill guy or anything, but just Brad's bud.
He was in the kitchen when Judge
at All American Burger
All American Burger. Yeah. Nice.
Okay, I was telling my wife that there actually was a real All American Burger on Sunset. Do you remember that?
Yeah. There's Astro Burger and American Burger.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, and she goes, "No, there wasn't." I go, "There was. There really was. It had the eagle. It had everything, but it was a big place. It wasn't a little place like that."
There's an All American Burger everywhere. Like yeah.
So
because Astro Burger is that's on Melrose and Gower or something like that.
I don't know that one. I don't know, but I mean, we could just go down the 80s and we might even revisit it again because if this 2020 bullshit keeps going, Dave, we're going to have to come back to get people happy.
For the movie, the reason I said Amadeus is I was doing a paint scheme as I want to do, and somebody thought, "Wow, I don't know, there's a lot going on. It's kind of, I don't know, it's too much." And I laughed, and I said, "Well, thank you, King." And they're like, "What are you talking about?" Because in Amadeus, when the King says there's too many notes, I don't know. It's just got too many notes, and Mozart goes, "What?" And I immediately thought, because I'm looking at this thing, it's someone I was telling about the other day, and I just go, this is cool. And literally, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know, man. And I was like, yeah, too many notes. And I just thought, you're killing me, Larry.
You're killing me. Too many notes.
Too many notes.
So, Anything else on the 80s? I mean, we could just go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's the things we all love. We touched on cars, bars, the success of. I'll tell you, one of the things I think that era of race cars, because we were talking about cars, it's weird because it kind of shifted. That era shifted from just gentleman drivers and showing up and being in the dirt pits and stuff to corporate. Yeah. But the cars, as they evolve so huge to me. Like if you go like a 917, evolving into the 930s, but through the 80s is all the 962s that were, monocoque and aluminum to carbon fiber, and it literally
say that on the show.
And Indy car changed and F1 changed, and it was the wing cars, all the wing cars in F1, and it just became so different. But I still love it. But you think it's the gentleman drivers were gone at that time.
Yeah, the guy who worked on it on his free time and brought it to the track. Yeah. No, that was over. That was over. And
that was it. That was kind of the transition.
And then our friend Adam Carolla bought up all the 80s.
He bought all those. Yeah, he did. We should tell him Paul drove some cars in the 70s.
Exactly, yeah.
God love it, man. Yeah, we need a production.
We'll come back. We'll revisit the 80s. Next episode, we will talk about my house.
Harvey Wallbanger.
And go make a Harvey Wallbanger. Go to iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating. Say that we rock. Say that we suck. Say anything, because that helps our ratings.
Say that we suck.
Tell everybody about us. And you know what? If you like the show, tell us. If you don't like the show, tell us. And if you have suggestions, tell us. And we're going to try and get some more interviews in. It's just been a little difficult to get everybody together. But with this Zoom thing that the kids are all doing, it's a little bit easier. So we're going to get this going. So Dave, where can they find you online?
YouTube channel. No, but
David W. Marek on Instagram.
Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, I guess you can find me if you want.
Yeah, you can find me. Bradley _Fanshaw. I'm trying to hit 50,000 followers this week. So if you would please go there and like me. When you go there and you see I only have 3,000, that shows what a goal I'm trying to reach. So
find me on Man 6 Adventure.
There you go.
That's what it is.
Hey everybody, thank you, and be sure to go to our YouTube page, and we will be uploading these as well as our drink how-to. Thanks everybody. Man 6 Adventure, we're out of here.